fresh from the oven, home-baked cookies. Hermits, to be exact. Not Herman's Hermits, just Hermits. Good morning, everybody. It's Stephen here for Bland Designs, and this is my weekly vlog number 172 for Monday, June the 15th, 2020, or the 96th day of my isolation. Hard to believe that this week we will hit 100 days, or I have hit 100 days. For some people, it might be a little longer than that. For some people, it might be a little less. But anyways, I hope everybody is doing okay, are keeping busy, and not getting too antsy. I know a lot of places have had some openings and things like that. We have not in our area, but we'll talk a little bit more about that maybe a little bit later on. But right now, I want to talk about this thing behind me. This is my latest creation, and yeah, it's a little unusual. This is my own pattern. It started out with one of these, this little circle in a square. In fact, that's what I call this quilt, Circle in a Square. Real original name, eh? But I saw a video about doing curves using a special tool which I happen to own on your sewing machine. It's called a circular sewing attachment, and most sewing machines you can get something like this for them. And generally speaking, when you do circles in a quilt, in a block, there is some piecing that has to be done, and it can be very tricky piecing curves. Now, personally, I've learned how to do it because I took a class in it, and I don't really have a lot of problem with doing it, except it takes a lot of time. This is a lot faster. So it started out as an experiment and turned into a full-size quilt, and it's all made with scraps from the last quilt that I was working on using these types of fabrics. And so I kind of think it turned out kind of cool. It's got almost sort of an Art Deco feel for it, I think. At least that's what I think. I like Art Deco. And it's a small one. It's only a lap size quilt. It's only about 50 inches by 54 inches, something like that. So now I have to layer it and quilt it. And speaking of layering and quilting, last week I showed you this one, my Canada quilt, but it had not been quilted yet. Well, it is now done. I have it quilted. I did what they call stitch in the ditch and a walking foot wave line. Now, the stitch in the ditch you can't really see because it's in the seam allowances. It just stabilizes the quilt more than anything else and gives it a little bit of texture. I've got the hiccups. A little bit of texture. But you can see the wavy line, the red wavy lines. That's done with the walking foot, and that's throughout the whole quilt. I'm very pleased with the way this one turned out. Again, it was sort of an experiment in terms of I saw a pattern and I took an element from that pattern and made it my own. I like doing that kind of thing, although I like following patterns as well. But it must be the art journaling paper crafter in me that comes out when I do quilts like this. It's sort of the same idea. I like to go beyond the basic pattern and see what I can do to make it my own. So those two things are done, and I'm looking like I'm standing in a shadow here. Let me just play with my very expensive lighting. Okay. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Which it is not. I'm just see if this makes. Ooh, no, yeah, that makes it. Okay. I guess because sunlight isn't coming through my windows, it must be a little bit cloudy here today. Although it looks like a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Okay, moving on. So I've got that to do. I have a ton of others to work on as well. So let's move on to the YouTube channel of the week. This is kind of fun. It's another one of the BBC game show kind of things that I've been talking about before. And yeah, this one is fairly highbrow in terms that what they talk about is called QI. And I'm really fascinated with it. We've been watching quite a few of these on YouTube and learning quite a lot as we go by. So check this out. This week's YouTube channel is, well, it's hard for me to actually say its name. It's Pcromabe. and I'm not sure how you're supposed to say that. Are you supposed to say it as Pcromabe or Pcromabe? I'm not sure. But anyways, it's very entertaining because this has a whole lot of past episodes from a BBC series called QI, which is sort of a intellectual game show. There's a lot of really interesting stuff. It's based around a theme each week. There are comedians on the show, which makes it very funny, but at the same time, it's very educational. I've learned a lot from watching this particular quiz show. And unlike North American quiz shows, this one and most of the ones that I have found on BBC actually are a combination of both fun and education, whereas the ones in North America just tend to be silly. So if you're looking for something that challenges your brain, teaches you, and entertains you, check out Pcromabe. So the link for that's in the show notes, and there's a link for Stephen and Walter Live. And this week we talked about, we talked about a lot of things. It seems that lately we get way off track, but that's okay, because that's the nature of our live broadcast. It's just to chat with people, and we go with the flow, so to speak. But our main theme was about drag, drag queens, drag shows, things like that, RuPaul's drag show, all that kind of thing, because some people brought it up a week or so ago on the live, and we thought we'd talk a little bit about it from our experience and from our personal points of view. So if you're interested in checking out what we think about drag shows, then check out Stephen and Walter Live. There is an episode of The Idiot Quilter. It's episode 69, and it's where I show you how I use this special attachment for my sewing machine to make those blocks. It does more than just make quilt blocks. You can do a lot of fun things with it. So if you are a sewer, have never heard of one of these devices, or you have one but you don't know what to do with it, check out my video about that. And you can find other videos about really neat things you can do with a circular sewing attachment on YouTube. So it's a new toy. It's kind of fun. Okay, and of course the link to the book of the week, which we'll come to in a minute, is there as well. So let's get right into what's pissing me off this week. Okay, I wasn't really sure what I was going to talk about this week. I had actually a different topic, which now I'm going to talk a little bit more about in a different light near the end of today's vlog. But what came to me this morning was something that happened last night. I go to bed relatively early. Yeah, I'm an old man. No, I always have. That was because I used to get up, and I still do, fairly early in the morning. When I was teaching, I used to get up at 4 o'clock, 4:30 in the morning at some points, so I could exercise and then get ready to go to school. And at that time, I had a bit of a commute to my school because it was in a couple of towns over, and the traffic was horrendous in the morning. And so if you didn't get out the door before 6 o'clock, you got trapped in traffic, and I hated that. But anyways, those days are behind me. So I was in bed. I'd go to bed most nights around 9 o'clock, read for maybe half an hour or so until, I start to drift off, and that's it. So I did that last night, and my phone, which sits right on my night table next to my bed, went off, a message. And it was from a friend of mine. And my friend was asking me about some sewing stuff, embroidery in particularly. And at the end of our conversation, we haven't seen these friends in a while. We talked to them on Facebook, but we haven't really been to their place. They haven't been to our place in a while. And of course, right now with everything that's going on, can't do it. Well, that's what sort of, I shouldn't say pissed me off. It isn't I'm pissed off with my friends. I'm pissed off at the situation. Because at the end of our conversation, my friend said to me, well, how do you guys feel about coming out to our place and we'll do dinner and drinks, sometime soon? Well, yeah, thank you for the invitation. I really appreciate it, and I would love to do that, believe me. But I'm afraid. Okay, and I didn't know how to say it in a very polite way. I didn't want to offend them, make them think I had, I didn't want to come to their place for dinner, because I do. But I don't want to right now. Now, the reason the invitation was probably extended at this point in time is because where we live, they've just opened up the bubble, meaning that now you can have up to 10 people in what they're calling your bubble. And the way I understand the bubble is it's people probably very close to you, family people, your relatives and things like that. Everybody has been checked out. Everybody knows that they are not asymptomatic, that they don't have the disease, and everything like that. And so the chances of you communicating it to someone else or them passing it on to you are very, very slim. So you can get together still practicing social distancing, things like that. Okay, so I have a feeling that this is why the invitation was extended to us, among other reasons, of course, too, but just, because now, hey, we can sort of do this, right? So I turned around and said, well, thank you. Thank you for the invitation. We really appreciate it, and we do. But at this point in time, with the given situation, we're still not comfortable with the idea of getting together with people. We would love to, but we don't feel comfortable. And, they wrote right back and said, oh, absolutely understand. The invitation, it's an open invitation forever. And I've said, well, hopefully soon we will be able to take advantage of that, because we'd love to. So anyways, we're just not that comfortable with the whole bubble concept. Now, this has me really worried, and this is what's pissing me off. People are thinking that because the government, our government right here, has said, okay, you can extend your bubble to 10 people. Well, one thing that I found that was clarified on the news this morning was that 10 people includes those people you are physically living with at the time. So if you're a family of 5, you can only bring 5 other people into the bubble. So say, grandparents, grandchildren, something like that, okay? But I don't think a lot of people will get that. I think a lot of people will think, well, that just means I can increase the people I can socialize with. And so, oh, wow, now I can socialize with up to 10 friends. Let's have a party. No, that's not what it means. But right now, I think people are so desperate to get back to socializing and seeing people and things like that, that they are not really thinking about what this new restriction really means. And that's pissing me off because we're going to have a second wave. You've heard me say that before, the pessimist in me. But guess what? This morning on the news, apparently in Beijing, they're having the second wave. It broke out at a discount food store or something like this, which has now been closed. But they haven't had any new cases in about 2 months, and now they've had 93 or something like that. A number. I don't quote me on the number, but it was a number, okay? It wasn't a 3-digit number, but it doesn't matter. Even if it's 2, it's still not a good situation as far as I'm concerned. So there you go. And China is saying they're pretty much figuring they're moving into the second wave. In the United States, as we all know, all kinds of things are opened up. They're already having more cases break out, especially down in around Texas and Arizona and places like that. Yeah, people were being stupid. So if we get back to this bubble idea, I think the bubble idea is a stupid idea. I think our government, what's pissing me off about this is our government is trying to appease people. They're trying to give maybe some hope. Maybe they're doing it for the right reasons, but no, it's too soon. People are getting this idea that things are going to go back to normal now and drop their caution. They're going to think it's safe. And we're going to have a China situation. We're going to have a second wave. It's going to happen again. So, by refusing or turning down a dinner invitation at this point in time, I don't think is inappropriate. I also had a call last night from another friend of mine that lives in Toronto, right downtown Toronto, just checking up to see how we were doing, how he was doing, and everything like that. And we don't get together with these people very often, but we've known them for years and years and years, like for, well, probably 35 years. Actually, a little bit more than that. So probably our oldest friends. Literally. Same age as us. Actually, slightly older. Makes me feel good. But I digress. And, we were talking about when we'll be able to get together again. But, again, they weren't suggesting we get together right now at all because they're being very cautious too. And they're trapped in the epicenter. Toronto's the epicenter for our province, pretty much. Well, because it's our largest city in Canada, so there you are. So the government is doing us a disservice. That's what's pissing me off. They're giving us false hope again, and they're making this is going to make things worse because there's a lot of people that won't really think about the consequences. Let's face it, there's a lot of people out there that are still stupid. Or a lot of people out there, let's give them the credit that they're thinking, but it's their emotions that are thinking now. I mean, I saw on the news too this morning, people going up and giving other people hugs that are in their bubble. One of the reporters said she'd love to hug her mother, go and see her and hug her, but she says, I'm not comfortable with that yet. Because she's a news reporter. She says she's still coming into contact with people every day, and although she's being cautious and everything like that, she doesn't want to risk giving her mother, who's, an elderly person, the possibility of getting the disease. Exactly. And even at my mother's nursing home, they're being still very cautious. They've had, I think, some people complaining that they're not being able to, like, things should be lifted now, restrictions on getting in to see their loved ones. No, they should not be. That in our province, over half of the deaths because of COVID in our province have been at the nursing home level. So, so that's why I'm pissed off. Let's put it in perspective, shall we? We have not been isolated for a year. We haven't been isolated for 6 months. It has been only about 3 months. Okay? It may seem like a lot longer, but it's only been 3 months. So I think if we can spend another month at least, doing what we've been doing, then maybe we have a chance of when the second wave comes, it may be much less than what they might be anticipating, and maybe we can get the restrictions lifted a little sooner. I don't know. But, we have to be safe, don't we? So don't pop your bubble yet. Stay in. Okay, so product reviews. Well, I thought I was going to show you what I had bought online. Actually, I ordered this stuff on May the 30th, so 3.5 weeks ago, from an online quilt place out in Edmonton area of Canada, and they shipped it immediately. And it got to Toronto, to us, another city that's connected to Toronto called Mississauga, at their postal. It came by Canada Post, and it's been sitting there since June the 6th. Just sitting there, doing nothing. This is now June the 15th. So it's been there for over a week and a half, going on to 2 weeks. And, 2 weeks tomorrow. Actually, right? Yeah. No. Yeah? Oh, lost track of time. Anyways, 10 days. Okay. So there it sits. I have a tracking for it, and I did some investigation to find out why it's sitting there. Well, apparently that's one of our biggest postal distributors or distribution centers in Canada, and they're backlogged. They claim that because of all the restrictions they had to put in place for COVID to keep the employees safe, well, yes, they had to do that. I get it. That has slowed down their processing of packages. And people have been ordering so much stuff online through the Postal Service that the volume of parcels and mail that they have to move is greater than what they have at the height of the Christmas season. So it's bottlenecked. Okay, that's what they're telling us. And I do believe it has an effect on it. But I think it also shows you how inefficient our postal service in Canada is. That they can't keep up. Like, come on. 10 days sitting at their distribution center is ridiculous. And here's the killer part. It was expedited, meaning that the sender of it paid, well, actually, no, the sender didn't pay it. I paid it. Extra money to have it delivered more faster and more efficiently. And I saw some articles online, because I did some exploring of all of this, and I'm not the only one sitting in this boat, who said that when they contacted the people you contact at Canada Post, they were very short with them. They said, well, we're backlogged because of COVID. Goodbye. Have a nice day. Drop dead. Ooh, nice customer service. Yes, I'm sure they've been inundated with calls and emails and everything like that. I sent an email. I have a help ticket. I have a number for, that they're looking into my problem. Yeah, I'm never going to hear from them. Actually, in the best of times, I've filled out one of those help tickets before on something. I never hear from them. No, it's a joke. Our postal service in Canada is a joke. I could have walked to Edmonton and back to get my order quicker than it would come by Canada Post. So, but what can I do about it? Nothing. I'm glad it isn't anything that I was really, really in a rush for, because I'm not. So I'll just sit and wait. Of course, the longer I wait, the more I start wondering, is my package ever going to come? Did it get lost in the system? And then that's a whole new nightmare, isn't it? And I mean, I spent like $80-some on this order, so it's not like I'd be losing $5 here. So we sit, we wait for this kind of thing. So I have nothing to show you this week. Simple as that. Oh, by the way, Walter's driving me mental because apparently I say simple as that a lot on my videos. I didn't really realize it until he started pointing it out for me. And now that's the big running joke around here. I just told him that when I say simple as that, it actually means F off. Translate it. It doesn't, but for him it does. Okay. But anyway, so I apologize if I happen to say that expression too many times. You can make it into a drinking game. Every time I say it, take a slug of something. Okay. Book reviews. Now, I did this in kind of the reverse order. Some time ago, I showed you volume 2 of this book. This is volume 1 of 500 Handmade Books. It's a really nice book if you are into bookmaking, bookbinding, journaling, and that kind of thing. It doesn't give you instructions. It's just a wonderful book of pictures of different books people have made. And this is really an art book because these albums and journals that are in this and in the one in volume 2 that I showed you some time ago just are beautiful to look at, to think about the work and the effort and everything that went into these and the creative imagination. So the other thing it's really good for as well is ideas, inspiration. But as I said, this does not include instructions on how to make these books. Now, I think they do sort of list what the basic materials that were used to create the book, like what they are, what they used, are there, but there aren't any specific instructions, but just filled with, just beautiful. You can look at this for hours. It's a great coffee table book. Do people do coffee table books anymore? I don't. They're dust collectors. But it's called 500 Handmade Books. It's volume 1, and it's by Lark Crafts. And you can get it on Amazon. And I was surprised at the price because, well, no, I wasn't surprised at the price. I think I paid, yeah, this is one of those books where I have no idea what I paid. Oh, yes, I do. I paid $29.95 for it, Canadian. Well, on Amazon it's gone up in price. It's now $54.74 plus you have to pay shipping on it. And I don't know what the shipping is. So it's well over $60 for this book. Now they did have them listed used ones starting at, it said $35.87. Again, I have no idea what about shipping. Used books, I've told you before, I've had good luck buying used books on Amazon. They come, they look brand new. So that might be an alternative. But it is a very nice book. And as I said, there are 2 volumes. I've already shown you volume 2 some time ago. I really like them. They're just, if you're running out of ideas for things, look through something like that, you might get inspired. Okay, so speaking of inspiration, we are now to the next part of my grimoire, pages 23 and 24. And you can see that this is getting quite thick. And I've still got quite a few pages left to go. So I am thinking that we may be coming to the end of this because, to be quite honest with you, I'm getting a little bored with it. How many weeks have I been doing this? And I do have some ideas for another project that I'd like to get into as well. So we'll see. I might do this 1 or 2 more weeks. I don't know. And then we'll move on to something new. So here's the latest installment. So I've completed another couple of pages, and this didn't take me very long at all, and I was able to use up some of my things in my stash. And I'm veering a little bit away from this being a true grimoire to more or less giving a suggestion of sort of a collection of things that have some sort of mystical connection. So I had a couple of these, what they call cabinet cards. They were from Tim Holtz. That's these with the frames on them. And I just put some of my background paper from the scrapbook album, or scrapbook paper album that I've been using throughout this grimoire. I used some of Tim Holtz's paper dolls in here, and just to give them an evil look, I kind of blacked out their eyes and their mouths. I put little X's across them. That gives them kind of a spooky, haunted look. And then in my stash I found these little cutouts that I had done some time before from something else. I don't know exactly where they came from. And they're in black and white, and they look sort of Victorian, sort of Greek mythy style like. So I added them on top for another layer. And in the background there is a spell card for each of these as well. So those went in very, very quickly, and I just glued them down, and they're fairly flat. I didn't want things getting too thick back here because I'm running out of space. Now, there's a pocket in this particular page, and I found this in my stash as well, this sort of gruesome looking postcard, as you can see by the image that's on it. And on the back of it, I put another one of those little cutouts, and I blackened it a little bit, and I tore the edges all the way around. And it's just another little interesting, curious insert for this little pocket. And of course, as I do, I've let it stick out over the edge a little bit, again, because when this is closed, you can see it's got sort of a very fat and full look to it. So that was the next 2 pages. How many do I have left to go? Still have quite a few. There's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and if you count the back, 14 pages. Still 14 pages, and as you can see, it's getting thicker and thicker. It makes it a little bit more difficult to hold together, so I'm not sure. I may actually end up having to take some of these pages out just to get a few more things in. And I'm not sure if I can come up with any more ideas for the pages, but we'll see. So that takes us to events in the past week. Not a heck of a lot. My mom's fine. She's a little bored, but then that's the usual state of her existence in the nursing home. But what's something kind of interesting, though, about that, they usually have a lot of activities planned, every week and throughout the month for the residents there. And I don't think they're doing that as much right now for one reason or another. The reason I say that is because I have not seen a calendar of their events. They usually put it out the first of every month, and they send people who are the chief caregiver, whatever you call us, family, they usually send it out to us by email so we can see what's happening. When I was able to visit my mother over there and that came out, I used to go over it with her and say, well, you might like to try this, Mom, or they've got this on, the 13th, or they're doing this on Tuesday, kind of a thing. And usually she doesn't care. She doesn't want to do any of that stuff. But, I just figure there might as well give it a try. But I haven't seen one of those in a couple of months. And so I was asking my mother about that, and she said, well, yeah, she hadn't had a calendar. They usually bring a copy for everybody in the nursing home, take it to their room kind of a deal. I even put up a little bulletin board in her room so it could be put on that bulletin board for her. And, I'm thinking that maybe the possibility is that they're not doing as much in that way because they need to keep the residents, socially distanced. Maybe. I do know they've been doing little sing-songs with them, and they've been doing some little dancing and little things like that because they post that on their Facebook page. But all the other regular activities that they have, those seem to not be happening. At least I don't think they are. I should probably send an email off and just ask. But, I don't really want to do that either because I don't want to accuse them. They've done an excellent job of protecting the residents there, and I really don't want to make it sound like I'm complaining because I know they're overworked. So I don't know. And of course the other problem is too, well, my mother doesn't partake in them anyway, so what am I worried about? But anyway, so yeah, she's fine, and that's good. All right, update on my 15,000, nothing to speak about except that, I have the loaner machine from the quilt store. And that's been fine. I have been using it. Now, I have to admit I have not been doing any embroidering on it, and I'm debating whether today, after I'm finished this vlog, whether I should do some. I kind of want to get to quilting this bugger over here too as well. But I think what I'm doing is I'm procrastinating because I'm so afraid that something's going to happen. I really have to get out of that mindset. But I was talking to the owner of the quilt store, Shirley, on Saturday, and because I want to know if something else had come into the store that we wanted. And at that time, she says, Roy, that's the technician, he did find something else that he's fixed on your machine. But she says, I haven't had a chance yet to really fully test it out. And it kind of took me aback for a second because I kind of thought she's told me she was going to get this guy to come up from the States. And so one reason why I have her machine is because that could be months and months down the road. And essentially, I kind of looked at it that, here's the store's machine. We're just changing out machines. Because she told me I had this machine indefinitely. So now it's sounding like I'm getting my machine back. Well, that's good. That's great. I said to her, well, I'm not in any rush, I'm managing with your machine. That's okay. When you get a chance to do what you need to do, go ahead. Don't worry. If it takes a little bit of time, it takes a little bit of time. So we'll see. So that's the latest on that. But funny, a new subscriber to my channel was on our live the other day, and we were talking about this problem. She has a 15,000 too. Is having exactly the same problem with her machine. So I am going to mention that to Shirley, just to let her know I am not alone out there in the world. Now, she probably has that figured out, but just want to reinforce it that I'm not the only one. There are other people out there that have exactly the same problem. So what's that say? I don't know. Janome, get on it. Really. But Janome doesn't care. Okay, so now here's a cooking tip for you. Actually, I made cookies earlier this week. I saw something on YouTube. They're called hermits. It was a different recipe that they were doing on there, but it reminded me of these cookies that my mother and my grandmother used to make many years ago. And essentially, they're a cookie that have like raisins and chopped up dates and walnuts in them. And there's cinnamon and nutmeg and allspice and that kind of stuff in them. They're kind of a spiced cookie, sort of. Not a ginger snap or something like that. They're a soft cookie. But I'd forgotten all about those cookies. So I found a recipe for it, and I made up a batch. Walter hates them. First thing came out of his mouth, he says, "Is there supposed to be cinnamon in these?" And I says, "Yes." He said, "Well, I can't taste the cinnamon." Well, I said, I stuck to the recipe and put in what it required. Now, there was one other spice. They had nutmeg in them as well, and they had allspice. I didn't have any allspice, so I didn't bother to put it in. But I had everything else. I think they turned out pretty good. Yes, they are a little bit of a different cookie. They're not really a really sweet cookie. There's sugar in them, but they're more of a savory type of cookie, which I thought would be up his alley because he likes savory stuff. But apparently these aren't to his liking. So be it. So he decided to make some more cheese bread. And he's got this recipe, and it's a really good recipe, and it makes great cheese bread. So he made it on Saturday. Well, when it came out of the bread maker, the dough, then you have to let it rise again, right? And what he usually does is he turns on the oven for a minute or two just to warm up the oven, not to get it up to cooking temperature, but just to warm it up, and then turns it off and throws it in. So, it's a warm space for the bread to rise. Well, he got busy with some other things and forgot to turn off the oven. So it was way too hot to put the bread in. So instead of sitting around waiting for the oven to cool down sufficiently, he decided to put his bread in the windowsill. Want to see what I mean? Here's a little video. Now here's something you don't see every day. So Walter made bread, and he turned on the oven, and he was only going to leave it on for a couple of minutes just to warm up so he could put the bread in to rise. But he forgot the oven was on. So the oven went too high. So rather than open up the door of the oven and wait till it cools down enough they could put the bread in, he thought he'd use solar power. So this is our bedroom, and the bread is sitting in the windowsill, rising in the sunlight. Can you say homestead cooking? So I guess that's not a new idea. I'm sure when people used to make bread back 100 years ago, that's probably exactly what they did. They set the bread in a warm place, and probably a warm place with sunlight streaming through a window on a table. So, I mean, not a revolutionary idea, but I walked into the bedroom and there was a pan of bread sitting in the windowsill. So there you go. Okay, so what's coming up? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Yes, yay, nothing. Wow. Yeah, okay, I'm excited about that. All right, one more thing. Now, this is what I was going to talk about, which was pissing me off originally until the bubble thing came up. But I do just want to mention this. I have talked about what it's like to be a content creator on YouTube. And there are degrees and levels of content creation. Mine is not on the upper scale, okay? As you can tell. I do not edit my videos. With the exception of, like, if I have a couple of little video clips, I insert those in. But I don't correct anything. You won't see this kind of thing. So I said, and then it came, but because, the constant cutting if someone is talking, I don't do that. Maybe I should, but I can't take the time for it because I don't care. Simple as that. But lately I have been getting a few comments from people about my videos. Now, okay, I think in one case anyways, the person was trying to be helpful. And I appreciate that. It was on some of my older videos. Actually, they were on the Idiot Quilter ones. And the person, I guess I was saying something, and I didn't know what the term was for something. It was my early part of getting into quilting and stuff like that. And this person, kindly placed, that comment in there saying, well, this is what it's called, or this is what you should do, and that kind of thing. The only thing is, when you're a content creator on YouTube, you have a thin skin. You should have a thick skin, but you have a thin skin. So every comment that is written, you try to determine if it is a constructive criticism, if it's supposed to be helpful, or if it's being sarcastic. And the problem is, words are very inadequate to help you determine that. If you can see the person face to face and you can see their expression, their eyes, their body movements, when they make say something to you, you can usually interpret whether it's a positive or a negative. But words don't always convey that very clearly. So you get these kind of comments and you wonder, okay, are they being critical and not in a nice way? And it makes you feel bad. Okay. I very seldom write a comment on another content creator's videos. I would never write a negative comment, for sure. I keep that to myself. And here's why. This person's put a lot of time and effort into creating this content for whatever reason. I don't want to hurt their feelings, okay? And it is not my place to criticize what they have created. If I don't like what they're saying, if I don't like what they're doing or showing, I don't have to watch. I can just turn it off. For example, I had one person who was watching my very first Idiot Quilter episodes. Oh, actually, it wasn't Idiot Quilter. It was my vlog. Actually, probably even before my vlog, back when I first started creating videos and I was doing some, ones about paper crafting and things like that. And this person's comment was, well, I really like the content of your video, but your camera kept focusing in and out, and that was giving me a headache. I did write back to that person. Also, something I seldom ever reply to people. Unless they ask me a very specific question, then I will. But if they just make a comment, I very seldom will reply one way or another to that. This one I did. I put, well, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed the content. If you took a look at the date of that video, that was made 4 years ago when I first got into making videos and I didn't really know what I was doing and I was using a different camera system. I have since learned. But I said, but if you find that other of my videos are giving you a headache, stop watching. Yeah. And then I blocked the person because there was another comment later on that was of the same caliber. And I thought, you're just somebody that wants to bitch. I don't need you on my channel. So I blocked them. Simple as that. Block them from writing comments. That should piss them off. Why? Really? I mean, I've watched videos where the sound hasn't been that great. I've made some like that, okay? Where there's been focusing problems, there's been lighting problems, things like that. But you have to remember, a lot of the people doing YouTube videos are not professional production engineers, okay? I certainly am not. So, and if it's bothering you that much, just turn it off. Go to a different channel. That's all you need to do. You don't need to make some comment about it. The person who's made the video probably knows there was a problem. I mean, I review my videos, okay, after the fact. And there's been a few that I've taken down because I went, oh God, I didn't know that happened. But crap happens. So get over it. If it's bugging you that much, turn it off. Simple as that. Oops. Take a drink. So, yeah. So what I'm saying is be nice. Be nice to your content creators. You might think content creators are out there creating for you. We are not. We are creating for us. This is our hobby. I know some people take it very seriously. Some of them are making major bucks from doing it. It is a business for them. But for most of us, we just want to share this information and we're doing it for ourselves. Okay? So be kind. And I'm lucky because I don't have a huge subscriber base. I think I'm up to almost 3,200 now after 6 years or something like that. In the big scheme of things, and you've heard me say this before, I'm small potatoes. But I appreciate my regulars. I appreciate it when they, thank me or mention something in a positive light that I've done or that they've learned something from it. That makes me feel good. Okay. So, and for the most part, I've never had any problems with my viewers. On occasion, there's been a few nut jobs, but those nut jobs I just block. Simple as that. And they usually, maybe I think sometimes people lash out at content creators on YouTube simply out of their own frustration. Especially right now, when we're all trapped at home and the whole bit, we have a lot of time to sit around and think, and the smallest little things can probably get our goat. But before you write that comment, before you hit that send button, think about the person on the other end of that message and how it's going to affect their ego. Just be nice, okay? It costs you nothing, so just be nice. Okay, so, geez, it looks like you got 2 what I'm pissed off at this week for the price of 1. So I hope you have a good week. Stay safe, stay in, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye for now.